Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of Box Seats. I'm your host, Frank Holder. It is Monday. This is the day where we talk about a lot of sports with comedians, and it's NFL Monday. So let's get ready to bring the fellas in. Talon's not in today, but my man Fig is. Fig, what's popping? How's your weekend, bro?
Hey man, it was a lovely weekend, man. Great show, great time. Happy to be back in the building.
That's what I'm talking about. My man Mike Sean's also in the building. Mike, what's happening, bro? How you doing, bro?
Excelente. Everything was good. Beautiful weekend. A whole bunch of football and sports to talk about, and we back at it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So, I saw a story, over the weekend because when you lay up and you do nothing else but read, you find stuff. So I found this one, and I wanted to find out, get your thoughts on this. So I'm gonna start you out first with this one, brother. Let's see. Let me make sure I get this tight, get this right, and here we go. Fig, on the University of Florida, they jumped on my news feed because they pulled a scholarship offer it gave to one of the nation's top quarterback recruits after a video of him using the N-word while singing along rap lyrics in a rap song surfaced. His name is Marcus Stokes. He played for Nice High School in Ponte Vedra Beach, Florida. He's been dubbed by 24/7 Sports as the 14th best QB in the nation, potential to jump up in the top 10. But Florida was like, you know what? After the alleged video surfaced, they were like, yeah, we don't want you to be involved with this. Now, mind you, this is a white kid singing rap lyrics and said the N word. And after that surfaced, they pulled his scholarship. And people were saying coming out of high school, he could have cracked the top 10 and being one of the top 10 QBs in the 3 to 4 years. What's your take on this one, Fig, when you hear that they pulled the scholarship from this white kid who's singing a rap song? And he didn't say the N word on his own. He did a rap song.
I hate to do this, man, but it sounds very similar to what Kyrie Irving did, who's already in the NBA. He retweeted about a movie that somebody else did that was on somebody else's platform. He didn't touch any words to it. All he did was retweet it. And he went through a whole month, seems like, of scrutiny and vitriol and called them all kind of names and sensitivity training and stuff like that. So this doesn't surprise me that it would just happen on the other side of the coin. The coin is the same. You got heads on one side, you got tails on the other. What's good for the goose, obviously, is now good for the gander.
The funny thing is, at first I was going to say that's a stretch, but then I thought about it. I was like, I get how you connected that. I see how you did that. I see how you did that, Fig. Hey everybody out there watching the show, Boxies. I hope you guys also had a great weekend. Mike, talk to me, bro. Tell me what your thoughts are when you hear this. Starting out a strange story of the weekend. What's your thoughts?
I get what Fig is saying. I don't agree. That does not mean Fig is wrong.
Right.
I see where it's coming from. Kyrie Irving did not say anything. If you're dumb enough to sit and get video, and you're a white kid, and you're using the N-word, you're dumb enough. You deserve to get that scholarship ticket. Dog. Listen, the word is off. It's out of bounds for white people. I'm not gonna compromise. The word is out of bounds for white people. Just like when Little Kim had a song that referred to the Jewish community and how you make money, radio stations took it off.
Yeah, but Mike, can I just interrupt you? Let's throw me some kickback. I went to the Wu-Tang concert, I don't know, about 2 months ago, and it was 80%, 90% white. And every kid in there was videotaping themselves, singing along with the rap lyrics. And every time an N-word popped up, I felt like, wow, all these white kids are saying the N-word. And this kid did the same thing. He did the exact same thing.
Did they have scholarships to a major university?
I get your point.
Listen, I don't care. Look, the whole thing is valid. Yes, you sing along with songs. It seems so innocent. I'm sorry, y'all. For once you have an unfair rule, deal with it. How about this? Let's make a negotiation. Let's. You want to say the N-word? So we'll trade you. You can say the N-word, but you also have to take how the cops treat us, and we have in return we get how the cops treat y'all. Y'all want to reverse it? Like it's unfair. Listen. You're not going to get away with using the word.
How about we trade them Herschel Walker? Y'all can have Herschel Walker.
You know what the big thing here is, though, Frank. As a quarterback, you're the leader of whatever college that you go to, whatever program that you go to.
That's a great point.
If he goes to the NFL, he will be at the face of an NFL franchise. And you can have a regular kid possibly get away with this, but you can't have the face of your company, the face of your multi-billion-dollar organization doing something like this. He's held to a higher standard.
Right, and if he went to the NFL, this video would definitely resurface.
Absolutely.
Well, if he thinks it's all good, then what I want you to do is sing them same rap lyrics in the locker room.
Great point, too. Great point there.
Since you think it's all good, since you had no idea it was wrong, do it in front of your teammates, your black teammates in the locker room. I want you to do it.
So speaking of ridiculousness, let's talk about OBJ. You know what I mean? OBJ Fig goes on a flight. He falls asleep. According to him, he falls asleep. And next thing you know, he's being woken up at the gate. You know what I mean? He figured he'd be up in the air and everything else. He falls asleep. The plane pulls to the gate. They kick everybody off because the stewardess said he didn't fasten the seatbelt. He said he was asleep. He's going back and forth. But ultimately, he got removed from a flight in Miami. What's your take on OBJ getting kicked off the flight as he failed to respond supposedly to the request to fasten his seatbelt?
Man, this is like overreaching, man. I think it's almost like, somebody has to show how powerful they are. And you know what I mean? You kick a person off the flight because they don't, they didn't have their seatbelt fastened or whatever, stuff like that. Man, I don't know, man. It just seems like a reach. You know what I mean? He didn't do anything. He wasn't arrested. He wasn't belligerent. You know what I mean? According to the report and stuff like that. I just think that, everybody can't handle a certain degree of power. Mm-hmm. And you give somebody that can't handle it, you put power in the wrong hands and it gets misused. And that's what seems like happened here.
Yeah, I can't disagree with that. The only problem is, Mike, is that OBJ has a whole lot of bad publicity that's following him for years. So people are going to be skeptical of this. Now, if he had a clean slate, people would 100% believe whatever he said. I don't know. What's your take on this? You're a Giants fan. What's your take?
I don't believe him.
See what I mean? There you go.
I don't believe him at all.
Can I ask a question?
First of all, there were multiple. There were different reports. One that they called medical physicians there, an ambulance. There was one report that he was going in and out of consciousness. That was the first report.
Right.
And I was like, well, I hope he's not messing around with something that he shouldn't be messing around with. And then it was he just didn't put his seatbelt on. Why didn't you put your seatbelt on? You have to put your when you decide, listen, I know from flying all the time, flight attendants can be a-holes. Mm-hmm. I know it. I've dealt with it. I've had one woman tell me, can I turn my headphones down? Mm-hmm. And we almost got into it on a certain airline that's named after this country, that we almost got into it there. But I don't know what story I can actually believe because it all sounds dumb. All the stories that are being put out there sounds like they're creating a story to avoid what really happened.
Right.
And I think Odell, in my opinion, and if I'm wrong, I apologize. In my opinion, Odell's publicist and team decided, let's go with you just didn't put your seatbelt on. Let's go with that because we don't want anybody to dig deeper into the story. If I'm wrong, once again, I apologize.
You know what? I just want to ask a question. Everybody says Odell has a checkered past. Can somebody tell me what he's ever done?
There was a video of cocaine on a pillow when he was in a hotel room with a chick during the season.
But guess what? Nobody, people say that's what it was, but who really knows?
Okay. All right, let's move on, Fig, to the next thing, man. The Eagles ended up defeating the Packers. Rodgers left the game because he injured his rib and everything else. I'm going to ask you, Fig, that I don't know if you saw the game or not. I'm assuming you did.
I did.
All right, so to me, Jordan Love looked real good when he came in for Aaron Rodgers. But Jalen Hurts looked phenomenal. He's the first QB to rush for 125 passing yards, 125 rushing yards and a half in 45 years. And the Eagles looked phenomenal to me. I was sitting there saying, damn, the Eagles look like they're going to the Super Bowl, and the only team I think can trip them up is the 49ers. They look that good to me. What's your take when you walked away from this? Do you think Aaron Rodgers was using that as because this thought did cross my mind. He's trying to get an excuse to get out of this because right now, as it sits, he saw they're getting ready to lose, and Green Bay's out of the playoffs. You know what I mean? That's the way I took it. But I'm a skeptical
Man,
Aaron Rodgers hater. So
I'll say this. Aaron Rodgers has been injured before. I think he had the injury that they say he has now was similar. This is I believe the second time that he had like felt like a punctured lung. He said, and he's like around the rib area. He said he was having problems breathing. The truth of the matter is that the Eagles have a better team than the Green Bay Packers, and they were going to lose whether Aaron Rodgers was 100% healthy or not. They was going to lose that game, and if you put Jordan Love in, they're still going to lose the game. No matter what quarterback you put, if you put a young, healthy Peyton Manning, pick a quarterback and put on that Green Bay Packers team against this Eagles team, they were going to lose.
Right.
So I don't know whether Aaron Rodgers just bowed out or not, but there's no way with both of those teams being healthy that the Green Bay Packers was going to beat the Eagles on yesterday. That wasn't happening.
Mike Sean, Aaron Rodgers' team, Green Bay Packers, is 4-8 in the conference. Right now, they're the 11th seed. Mathematically, they're not just yet eliminated, but they damn sure on elimination streak. You know what I mean? What's your take on the Eagles? You want to talk about the Eagles, how good they look, the Packers, how bad they look? When you see the game, and I know you saw the game, what was your immediate reaction?
The Packers could have won that game. If it wasn't for a 50-some yard field goal on fourth down that the Eagles kicked, because they knew because let's be clear, the Eagle defense is suspect.
Mm-hmm.
The Packers were running for over 5 yards, gaining 5 yards a carry. They only ran the ball 20 times. Jordan Love came in there and looked like a seasoned veteran and dissected the Eagle defense again. Like, I get the 10-1. They remind me of the Steelers. Remember when the Steelers started the season like 9-0?
Mm-hmm.
And then they came back to, I don't believe in the Eagles. And I will say this. The Green Bay Packers allowed Jalen Hurts to run the same play 20 times.
Mm-hmm.
Never once did they adjust and do what Belichick did to Tim Tebow, where he said, I don't care if you miss the running back. Every time he runs that play, I need you to hit the quarterback. Don't worry about, is he going to give the ball to the running back? The guys coming off the edge look the same way on every play. At a certain point before the play starts, your defensive coordinator should say, you are going to hit Jalen Hurts. Don't worry about the deception. I've never seen a team run the same play. It was like playing Madden with somebody who can't play, and you just say, I'm just going to do the same play over and over and over again. It was embarrassing.
And the worst part about it was on the 7th or 8th time he did it, he ran for 45 yards. I was like, and they didn't even touch him. I was like, I saw the same thing.
And before the half, they allow him to complete a bomb with like 20 seconds left in a half. And you're going like, why are you even pressing the receiver? Like, I didn't understand the defensive coordinator's philosophy. God bless the Eagles. The Eagles, I can't look. If Eagle fans say they're about to win the Super Bowl, I can't fight that. They're 10-1. Numbers, people say numbers don't lie. I think numbers are going to wind up lying because I still think the Eagles are going to get knocked out in the second round.
I don't know if they're going to get knocked out the second or third. If they have a good game, they could go to the Super Bowl. The scariest team to me in the NFC is the 49ers. I've watched them all play. They scare, but that's a topic for another day. Fig, let me talk to you about another team. Got to talk about Mike White coming in for the Jets. Mike White came in and was shining really, really good for the Jets. The Jets looked phenomenal. Literally 1 week after they lost to the Patriots, didn't even look like the same team. But it was raining. It was the weather. Up here in New England, I'm telling you right now, Fig, in New England, everybody was saying Mike White is the version of Zappy. You know what I mean? That's their Zappy QB. He's not going to last the whole time. I was sitting there saying, I don't know about that. I think the Jets find themselves a QB, and I think Zach Wilson's in trouble. That's my take, from the game I saw. What did you see when you saw that game, Fig? What was your take?
This kid looked amazing, man. He looked like the second coming of a young Aaron Rodgers, man. I was just like, yo, who is this kid? Come to find out, he's been on the team for about 3 years or so, and he just hadn't gotten an opportunity. The funny thing about quarterbacks is, I say this all the time, young players, it takes them a long time, possibly 2 to 3 years before they get acclimated to the professional game, whether it be basketball or football. This kid actually sat on the bench, and I guess he studied film or whatever, stuff like that. The fact that he's on the team meaning he has some kind of ability. And then the fact that he sat for 3 years watching and learning, sitting behind quarterbacks, you know what I mean? And watching film, learning, studying. I think he picked up a lot. And when he got his shot, he was actually really, really, really good. He looked like, again, I say, the second coming of a young Aaron Rodgers yesterday. It was inclement weather. It was horrible for both teams. I'd like to see this kid again on next week to see if this was a fluke or if this kid really came into his own on yesterday.
All right, Mike Sean, third string QB comes in, Mike White. You think Zach Wilson's in trouble, or you think this was a fluke? What's your take? Because I know you saw the game.
It's his job to lose.
Right.
He's gonna start next week. If he performs again next week, listen. If he continues winning, the job is yours, homie. If you get on stage and the promoter said, if there's a promoter that has a tour and says, as long as you keep tearing it down, you're on this tour. Okay, I got to make him laugh. That's all he's got to do. I forgot that last year he threw for 400 yards in the game. The problem with Mike White, let's remember, Dak Prescott was the third string quarterback with the Dallas Cowboys. It took Tony Romo to get hurt, his backup to get hurt in preseason for him to get a shot. Kurt Warner. It took injuries for him to get a shot. Nobody was checking for Kurt Warner. The Rams thought their season was over. Like this has happened. This has happened before.
Yeah.
And Drew Bledsoe. Drew Bledsoe goes down. Tom Brady comes in, and that's the rest is history.
And the rest is history. You got the reins to it. Them guys in the locker room, those receivers are sitting there going like, "Look at this. When I'm open, I get the ball."
How about
Especially
that?
the one who was complaining. There was a wide receiver on the Jets who was complaining.
Wilson.
Yep. He was complaining, and he got the ball a lot and teared it up yesterday. I say this right now: the Jets in the 7th seed right now. If they get to the playoffs, which it looks like they're going to, and they win a game, Zach Wilson's going to get traded in the offseason, bro. I don't see him staying there. You know what I mean?
You know what's funny though, Frank? When your team has confidence in you, they play at another level. And it was pouring. This kid was throwing the ball all over the field, and it was raining.
Yeah, I know.
Imagine what he's going to do when the weather is good.
Yeah, I get that.
And you got to remember the reason why Mike White didn't get his shot is because of circumstances. The Jets were drafting using their number 1 pick for quarterbacks for like the last, how many years? From Sam Darnold to Zach Wilson. So they had to play these guys. And Mike White just chilled.
And they were worried about Mike White, so they ended up getting Joe Flacco as the backup.
Exactly.
So he was like looking it up. But I think this kid's got potential to be something phenomenal. So let me talk to you about the other issue, Fig. not Deshaun. I don't even want to talk about Deshaun Watson just yet. Let me talk to you about Russell Wilson, because there was a blow up on the sideline yesterday. People are talking about that more than they really talking about the game, because Denver ended up losing a game that they should have won. Well, we'll get to that in a second. To me, I want to ask you, man, does the Broncos blow up on the sideline mean that there's some issues in Denver? What's your take on that, man? Like, because I think there's issues in Denver, especially since now Denver's sitting so far away. They are the 15th seed out of 16 teams in the AFC. They're definitely not going to make the playoffs. They're 3-8. What's your take on this?
Playoffs?
Yeah.
Playoffs?
They're definitely not.
Playoffs? No, man, listen, they ain't got a snowball chance in hell of making the playoffs. But, yeah, man, there's problems in there. And let me tell you what, look, Russell Wilson clearly is not playing well. They paid him a whole lot of money. He got an extension in his contract. You know what I mean? They extended him for a few years. And, his teammates are upset because here's the thing. When you are winning, quarterbacks get all the praise. When you're losing, they get all the blame. The Broncos are losing. Russell Wilson is going to get all the blame. But you know what? I need to understand what what the coaches are doing, because I haven't seen any kind of change up since the beginning of the season. They seem like they're doing the exact same thing over and over and over again. They're not giving, it doesn't seem like they're giving him an opportunity to change up any. It's like I just see the same thing over and over again. And it could be the play calling, it could be the coaches, or maybe Russell Wilson left Seattle and fell off a cliff.
Mike, 23-10 is the final score. The Panthers ended up upsetting Denver Broncos. Sam Darnold comes in, first start that he's had this entire season, and they win 23-10. And, Denver was expected to win that game. You know what I mean? So people are like boiling over up in Denver right now. What's your take on this whole situation? Russell Wilson, firing of the head coach, anything. What's your take?
I don't think Russell Wilson forgot how to play football. I think it does show how when your confidence gets shook, it can shake everything up. I don't think it's a big deal what happened on the sidelines. Like, to me, I think sports media is turning to TMZ now. Mm-hmm. I mean, people blow up on each other on the sidelines all the time. So to me, that's not a big deal. To me, I think as emotions, you got a defense who's holding teams under 17 points sometimes, and they can't get their offense to come together. But like Fig said, I don't know enough about these receivers and their offensive game plan to understand if they're actually using Russell Wilson in the right way. Is he having a horrible season? Yeah. When you throw 8 touchdowns and 5 interceptions, or is it 5 interceptions and 8 touchdowns? Whichever one it is, it's still horrible. Yes, 8 touchdowns and 5 interceptions. I mean, that's pretty bad. So it was bound to happen. One of these signings wasn't going to work. It happens. Remember when Randy Moss went to the Raiders and that was a disaster? Remember when the Jets signed Geno Smith? Well, drafted Geno Smith. It was a disaster.
Right.
Sometimes the fit don't fit. This ain't no guarantee. You give the man an office in the stadium and you tell somebody that he's going to take you to the Super Bowl. It ain't happening. And I can't honestly point my finger on which I don't follow Denver like that. We're not in Denver. So I don't know what the real complaints are. I know their defense is pretty solid. So
well, when I was in Denver a week ago, I saw a ton of people. I was sitting down next to some people, bro, and everybody was complaining about the coach. Like, it was just the biggest thing was the complaint was the coach and the play calling. So, maybe that's what it is. Maybe the coach gets fired. So, we'll see.
And since Peyton Manning, they've gone through like 35 quarterbacks. So there's an underlying problem that's going on there that I don't know enough about the team.
And until this year, even though they've gone through 35, they've had good defense for like the last 8 years, ever since Peyton Manning left. And now this past year, the defense is horrible. So maybe I don't know. Maybe that's the problem.
You know what, Frank? Though maybe the defense is not as horrible as we think. But when you're on the field for 90% of the game, you get tired. You can't stop it. Listen, no defense can stop an offensive team like that when you spending most of the time on the field. You gotta have a nice balance where your offense eats up some time, and then you play defense sometime. The defense is out there playing out there against offensive teams all the time. Eventually, somebody's gonna get loose and they're gonna score.
Then let's talk about the Raiders. The Raiders ended up, Mike, I'll come to you in a second. The Raiders ended up defeating the Seahawks in overtime. The Raiders upset the Seahawks in overtime because everybody and their mother I know picked the Seahawks. And I was looking at the line. I thought the Seahawks was going to destroy the Raiders. I didn't even think it was going to be close. The Raiders get a breakaway touchdown in overtime. Incredible. Do you think that this Raiders win is going to save Josh McDaniels' job? Or not that they could cut him, but, because they really can't cut him. What's your take on this, Fig?
Oh, man. Boy, the Raiders made so many bad moves, man, with these super long contracts and stuff like that. It's almost like it's impossible. They still owe Gruden money. Mm-hmm. Now, how do you do that, man? It's just like, man, Josh McDaniels was not a bad quarterback last year. Why is he so bad? Why are they so bad? With better receiver. Huh?
You mean Derek Carr?
I'm sorry. Right. Josh McDaniels, the coach. But Derek Carr they were great. They were on the verge of possibly being able to win last year. Now you add a top-notch, top 5 NFL receiver, and you're losing. It's got to be on Josh McDaniels. It has to be. What changed? What changed from last year to this year? Josh McDaniels. That is the one thing that we can point to. And it goes back to the other question, Frank. Maybe that's the problem with Russell Wilson and the Denver Broncos. Maybe it's the coach, because we know that team wasn't that bad last year and they got better on their roster, but they look horrible.
Yeah. Mike, let me ask you this. Josh Jacobs, he ended up getting a 300-yard game, walk-off TV, overtime, win. What's your take on this whole situation?
Dog, when you do a walk-off, when you do a runoff from 86 yards out, when you make your quarterback cry off a running play, when your quarterback breaks down and cries, you have done something. I haven't seen a performance like that. I just haven't. Like, I'm not saying he's the greatest running back of all time. I'm just saying I've never seen somebody run the way he ran and then caught 76 yards of receiving yards and then run for an 86-yard walk-off. Like, listen, man, I felt good for Derek Carr, because I think Derek Carr is one of the most underrated quarterbacks in the league, and he's not going to get the credit he deserves because he's not on the team. He's not in the circumstance that he needs to be in to actually excel. He reminds me of Alex Smith, on how much Alex Smith did with the Kansas City Chiefs.
That's a great comparison.
And he never got the credit until he damn near lost his life to an injury and came back. And then we started giving him credit for having courage and taking, at that point, was the Washington football team to the playoffs. I felt good for Derek Carr. Josh McDaniels, he's going to get a pass. He's not going to get fired. He's going to be there another year. They can't owe John Gruden money on his contract, then owe another coach money on his contract, and then hire another coach. So basically, you're paying 3 separate salaries to be your head coach. So he's going to get next year. He just is.
Unless they had that same coach from last year who was on peanuts, they could have kept him. They'd still be doing something. But that's
sad, man. That's sad that they do that, man.
Yeah, it's conversation for another day. Fig, let me bring up the whole point of the Jaguars upsetting the Baltimore Ravens. I was upset about this because I knew it was going to happen, and sure enough, I cut on TV this morning, and some people were blaming Lamar Jackson for this loss. He did everything he could do. But, being that he's in the contract, yeah, I'm feeling bad for Lamar Jackson, bro. What's your take on the Jaguars upsetting the Ravens? I think this was an overtime, too. What's your take?
Frank, it was overtime. And let me just tell you this, man. No, was it? It may have been overtime. It was so many overtime games last year.
It wasn't overtime.
It wasn't overtime.
No,
listen.
Conversion that they won on.
If I would talk about Dave the business bully always says that the NFL and the NBA is just like wrestling and that the fix is in. If it ain't, they are sabotaging this kid. You know what I mean? They gotta be. His best receiver, his best playmaker is 35 years old, and there's no defense to speak of. They had 1 minute left, and this defense let this guy go down and score a touchdown. The defense let him go down and score a touchdown, and then a 2-point conversion. Like, this is ridiculous, man. Every game that the Raiders have lost seemingly came on the defense. The Raiders, Jesus.
Ravens.
The Baltimore Ravens. Every game that the Baltimore Ravens have lost, seeming like it came on the defensive side of the ball.
That's not the worst part, Fig. The worst part for the Ravens is every game they lost, they were winning in.
Yeah, because listen, if your quarterback is doing his job, he's scoring.
Right.
If your defense is letting the other team score more than you, even when he's throwing for like hundreds of yards, running up the score where they got like 30 and 40 points a game, and you still losing, that ain't on your quarterback. If I scored 21 points a game, my defense is supposed to help me win that game. Any defense worth its salt is supposed to help you win a game when your offense can score 21 points a game. You're supposed to be able to help that team win. This kid ain't got no help on the defensive side of the ball, and blaming him is a flat out lie because that is not his fault.
Mike Sean, what's your take on this, man? Because again, it was another game where Baltimore Ravens is winning the game. It's the fourth game. Baltimore Ravens right now is fourth seed in the AFC. If the playoffs were to end right now, they fell from the third seed to the fourth seed because the Dolphins jumped up to the second seed yesterday, and the Jets jumped up into the seventh seed too. So it was great to see with these wins. But right now, Mike, talk to me about your thoughts about the Ravens right now, or you could talk about the phenomenal win that the Jacksonville Jaguars did now, because they're starting to put it together. People might not be paying attention. Jacksonville's starting to put some stuff together too. So what's your take, Mike?
Yeah, I mean, that's interesting because Trevor Lawrence made some passes that were in line with where he got drafted at. So I gotta compliment them. Number one, there are a ton of defenses this weekend that disappointed their team. I mean, it's an offensive league. It's very tough to hold these offensive down. I just want to say this. I can't feel, when we say I feel bad for Lamar Jackson, I get what we're saying, but I really don't feel bad for a guy who's guaranteed $40 million next year because they're going to franchise him. He's going to be fine. But the Ravens front office, I don't know what you're going to do. And what's going to happen is that the Ravens are going to use this against Lamar Jackson.
Right.
They're going to use this in negotiations. And they're going to use in negotiations because he's not going to get $250 million. He's just not. He's not, because they're going to say, well, if you want us to improve the team around you, how can we, if we're going to pay you this amount of money every year? Whatever the $250 million gets divided by. We're living in a football league where teams have to make Super Bowl runs with quarterbacks on their rookie contracts. Mm-hmm. They got to make runs when the quarterback's on their rookie contracts, or when a quarterback is like Matthew Stafford, who now has played in the league long enough that just wants to win a Super Bowl. So he's not going to crack the bank on you. This is their philosophy. I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but they need to make a run with quarterbacks early in the game before they have to spend his money. His money's going to be guaranteed, but it's not going to be $250 million. It's just not.
Hey, Frank, you know what? I've seen Jerry Jones do some real funky stuff when it comes to the salary cap and stuff like that. You can pay this dude. You ain't gonna put all that money in his salary. You can give him bonus. You know what I mean? You can give him a signing bonus. You can do all kinds of things to make this thing work. I think the salary cap and these NFL owners selling the fans on this notion that if the quarterback gets paid a certain amount of money, then you can't get other players on your team. I think that's a bunch of crap. Why can't I? If you wanted to, you give Lamar Jackson a $200 million signing bonus and let him, whatever the contract is, pay him the other $50 million in salary. Like, there's ways around this if you want to do it.
Yeah, I don't want to spend all this time talking about Lamar Jackson.
I just want to just say this. That's why the Rams lost Von Miller, because they had to pay other people. That's why Devontae Adams couldn't stay with Green Bay, because they had to pay Aaron Rodgers.
Let me bring out this point right here. I want to bring this point to you, Fig, because this is the biggest point to me over the whole weekend, and that I didn't see it anywhere this morning at all. The Buffalo Bills have fallen to the wild card position in the AFC right now. After the games happened, Buffalo right now, believe it or not, is the fifth seed. The fifth, sixth, and seventh seed are all wild card spots. If the playoffs was to end right now, Buffalo has to play an away game the first weekend, depending on who they match up with. You know what I mean? They're not playing at home. So, Fig, my thing to you is right now, are you concerned about where we at with? Because, believe it or not, the Dolphins are the number 2 seed. The number 1 seed is the Chiefs. Dolphins number 2, the Titans number 3. Fig, when you hear all this news, what's your take on Buffalo falling to the 5th seed?
I think it's unfortunate, and the truth of the matter is, I think Josh Allen is. I think he's really injured. You know what I mean? And they're downplaying the significance or the severity of his injury, man, because they was on top of the mountain when they first started, and then after he got that elbow injury, that's when they started to drop off and they started losing games. They did win yesterday. Yesterday they did win over the Lions. Man, without a healthy quarterback in this league, uh, your chances of winning is slim to none. I don't know what they're going to be able to do to get Josh Allen healthy and possibly be able to do something this year, man. But the Bills goes as he goes. So if they can't get him right, then they're probably not going to be able to beat some of these top teams that are going into the playoffs and into the Super Bowl. And it's unfortunate for the Buffalo franchise because it always seems like Murphy's Law, whatever can go wrong, seems to go wrong when it comes to the Bills franchise.
The other surprise I mentioned for a hot second there, Mike, is that the Dolphins are the number 2 seed. So they play at home being the number 2 seed also. So it looks like stuff is going to go through Kansas City. If it was to end today, stuff is going to go through Kansas City and Miami right now. Are you surprised that the Dolphins are 8-3 and the number 2 seed? And do you think it's going to last? What's your thoughts on the Dolphins right now?
Yeah, I'm surprised. I think we're all surprised, but I think we play with numbers because all the sports stations play, all the sports people play with. If it ended today, they'd be the 5th seed. It doesn't end today, and they're tied for first place with the Dolphins. So they could literally, if they won, they could be the 2nd seed going into the
lost. So that the head-to-head they lost. So the Buffalo Bills is not.
But no, but they could just have a plain better record than the Dolphins.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, so I wouldn't panic. Like the only team I'd panic in is having to play Kansas City and Kansas City. Maybe that would be it. Buffalo's just fine. They're going to win their 11 games. They're going to be in the mix, and chances are, I think they're going to wind up winning the AFC East. And I think they win it. But I'm surprised by Miami. We still have to see them play in some cold weather. We still have to see if they can hold up in the cold weather because they Miami. So they probably, if anybody needs home field advantages, Miami and Buffalo, because they both have severe advantages. One because of the heat, one because of the cold, which is kind of funny. It's the total opposite. I'm not worried about Buffalo. I just think it's a good thing to bring up. If it ended today, you know.
So let's talk about Tom Brady and Fig and the Bucs, because the Bucs ended up losing to the Browns. And mathematically, right now, the Bucs are 5-6, but they're first in the NFC South, and they're the 4th seed. Thanks to them, that they are literally the head of the NFC South. Because if they were in the NFC East, they wouldn't be in the playoffs right now because they're at the top of the NFC South, and they're 5-6. They are automatically in the playoffs as the 4th seed. Are you concerned about the Bucs though, Fig, by the way they played yesterday? Because they looked horrible. You know, I don't care what nobody says. They look horrible.
Yeah, man. They played very uninspired football yesterday, man. You think about this. You get a player who is damn near 50 years old, and you get him to throw for 246 yards and 2 touchdowns. You need the help of the rest of your teammates to come and to make some plays and to be playmakers and stuff like that. And it doesn't look like that's happening, man. It really doesn't. Tom Brady is not at the stage of his career where he can carry a team, you know, to victory like he did previously in his earlier part of his career. He's not at that stage of his career right now. He needs more help from what we call the others. Defensive side of the ball, some offensive playmakers. He can manage the game to the point where you can win and you can win big and get a Super Bowl, the whole thing. But he needs more help now than he did in previous years. And it just seems like it seems like he's not getting it. They went to overtime to be able to be for the Browns to be able to beat them. It had to go to overtime and they still lost.
I still wish talent was on today because I wanted to throw it up in his face so bad, this coach versus player thing. You know what I mean? I wanted to, but I'm gonna give him tomorrow. Because Tom Brady looked normal when you don't have all the weapons and everything else around you. You know what I mean? But
how does that prove your case? Because he didn't have weapons. That doesn't bring it back to the coach.
All right. The conversation was, real quick, is that if you have everything around you, you'll do everything. And Tal and I were going back and forth saying that if the coach has everything and all the pieces, the coach will win. If Brady has all the pieces, Brady would win. And if you take the pieces away from both of them, who's going to win? And so player versus coach. And Talon, you should remember this. Talon said hey, the player will win. Brady would win overhand. I said, okay, I don't think so. And
a young Brady, not an old Brady.
we didn't go by old or young. We just said Brady or the coach.
Right, but
either way.
Right, but this particular player is not the same player that we talk about. Look, Michael Jordan can get you over the hump if he's Chicago Bulls Michael Jordan. He can't do it on the Washington Wizards. Kobe Bryant.
That's not. I understand all that. That wasn't the conversation. That's not. And
I know, but you got to throw that in. You can't just say a player and then
we did. The point was it was an either.
Okay.
Or. The conversation was either or.
Okay.
The point to that conversation, which is a null and void conversation, is there's no right answer.
That was my point.
There's no right answer because Michael Jordan, when he was jumping over people scoring 40 points a game, couldn't take his team past the first round of the playoffs. It takes a team. And right now, Leonard Fournette wasn't playing. Now, if you want to go to the coach thing, I will say this. I hate to side with you because Frank is going to take it as if I'm siding with him. I will say one thing, the difference between Bowles and Bruce Arians. Bruce Arians will hold your feet to the fire at a press conference, and he will call people out. He would call people out now, and he would say who and who is not carrying their weight. Bowles is not going to do that. Bowles is going to play within the parameters of keep it in the locker room, keep it in the locker room, keep it in the locker room. The Bucs just don't look like a good team this year. All around, they don't look like a good team this year.
Yeah,
and I think I just like that game yesterday. I couldn't believe how regular they really looked as a whole team. Like they just look regular, and they don't look like. Listen, I know everybody is scared to ever doubt Tom Brady, and we should, because he's proven everybody wrong over and over and over again. But I think Fig has a point. It's the LeBron syndrome. Okay. Everybody has to carry their weight. But even in Tom Brady's prime, he had some down seasons with the Patriots.
Yeah, he did, because he didn't have the confidence around him. You got to have the pieces around you to win. I don't care what you got to have.
I don't see how they can beat the 49ers. The 49ers just run their game plan. If the 49ers just run it down. I don't see how. But then again, they beat the Cowboys. Who knows? I don't like it. It's so crazy.
Any given Sunday, if I love football. Fig, let's move on.
49ers got hella weapons.
Let's talk about the NBA, because we got 15 minutes, and I want to get these other things in real fast. And let's talk about, I don't know if you heard this or not, but the Dallas Mavericks have signed Kemba Walker over the weekend. Actually, this morning they finalized this morning to play with Luka Doncic and everything else to help them. Because let's be honest, they lost Brunson. They see that there's some holes in them since they lost Brunson, and Brunson went to the Knicks. So they would figure, okay, well, let's sign Kemba Walker. All right. Can I give you my opinion right now?
Sure. Yes, sir.
My opinion is I think that was the complete and utter wrong thing to do, because Kemba Walker is not the dude that people thought he was 5 years ago, 7 years. He's not. He's too small. His hip injury is going to be bigger than what people is going to be revealed, and he ain't going to shut down nobody. So I don't even think it was a Band-Aid. I think it was just a name that they did. So I didn't like the signing. I could be wrong. Do you like the signing that Dallas did with Kemba Walker? Because when he's explosive as a point guard, he is. But right now, Luka is the point guard. So I don't know how they're going to bring in Kemba. If Kemba as a shooting guard, that doesn't make sense to me either. So do you like the signing right now? What's your take?
No, and only because of health reasons and age. You know what I mean? That health and age matters. Kemba Walker is not the same player. He's not what Brunson is now or what he was last year. Kemba Walker can't take the punishment that Brunson is taking. He couldn't do it on the Knicks. We just had him. On the Knicks. And the Knicks, Brunson is far, far better player right now than Kemba Walker is. Way better. And if they think that that's their replacement for Brunson, they're sadly mistaken. I don't even think that Kemba Walker can stay healthy for the rest of the season. I would be willing to bet money right now, $100, $200, whatever, that Kemba Walker is not going to stay healthy for the rest of the season. I already know his knees are shot. And like you said, he's an older player and he's small in size. I don't even think size really matters when it comes to this part of the game, because Brunson and Kemba Walker, they pretty much match up as far as height is concerned. and Brunson did exceptionally well when he was with Dallas. And I don't think Kemba's going to be able to do that because he's older and I think his knees are shot.
I think Kemba's problem is his knees and his hip, Mike, and because it's his hip, he got a hip and knees injury. He's not going to be able to defend the way he wants to defend. So he's going to be a liability, in my opinion. Maybe Dallas can do something with him that we're not seeing. I don't know, man. Everybody has their own opinion. What's your opinion on Kemba Walker signing with Dallas Mavericks?
Mark Cuban is the problem. The whole situation with Luka is you have guys to rebound. Now the rest of this team should be built around what? Shooting.
Right.
And you had Seth Curry on your team and you traded him. You had Jalen Brunson on your team and you traded him. Well, you didn't trade him, but you let him go in free agency. And you didn't take care of him. You didn't give him the deal where you be like, listen, we need you here. We see a bigger picture. And now you're going out to replace somebody you lost. When you go out to replace, and it's not even an all-star break, when you're looking for somebody to replace a position that you allowed the person to walk on, that is your fault. You didn't bring back the team that won the NBA championship against the Miami Heat. You broke that team up. Now you broke up, you allowed a player to leave that took you to the Western Conference Finals. You allowed the guy who, when Luka Doncic was out, racked up 30-point games. This is Cuban. And listen, you guys are gonna mess around, and when that contract comes up for Doncic, if you haven't fixed the situation, he will be gone. Because Luka Doncic ain't Dirk. He ain't loyal like Dirk. He's new. He's the new Dirk. He's the new Dirk that understands how profitable it would be to play in Chicago. How amazing it would be to play in Miami. How amazing it would be to play with the Lakers. Like,
you bring up some good points there, Mike. You bring up some good points. The thing that, especially the point about not being able to keep teams together, because if he had brought back Brunson and he had gave him the money that he wanted, Brunson wouldn't be in New York. You know what I mean? He wouldn't be in New York because he would have stayed in Dallas. And because they did have a better team to go to. No, they had a better team that went to the Western Conference Finals. He knew going to the Knicks, he wasn't going to the finals. So
right, well,
he had to go get his money.
Yeah, his money.
Well, he went for his money, and then I mean the fact that his father is a coach on the team might not, and he's from the area might. Frank,
it ain't gonna be that
Frank.
What?
Let me say your point. You're shaking your head.
I'm shaking my head because everything you're saying right now is not lining up to me to the one fact of this. If you go to the Western Conference Finals, I don't care what I can see my dad anytime. I have a better chance to go into repeat to go to the Western Conference Finals than go into a team with my dad and we might get to the playoffs. That's why I'm shaking my head. That thought don't make sense to me. So
it doesn't make sense to you because you're an individual. But I'm saying that because he was going to make the same amount of money, he's going home. He gets to play.
What do you mean the same amount of money?
He wasn't the same amount of money.
He wasn't the same amount of money.
I'm saying if Dallas didn't even have a chance to match the offer, or they weren't going to pay him more than the Knicks was going to pay him. So I'm saying let me finish my point, Frank.
I didn't stop you. Go ahead.
I'm saying if Dallas was going to match the same amount of money, then him going to New York, a hometown where he's from, playing on a team that his dad played for, that his dad is coaching on now, that he probably wanted to play for when he was a kid. Sometimes it just means something. That's all I'm saying.
Because what you said is possible, but I think he heard so much stories of Cuban and negotiating and going back and forth. I think he was like, you know what? First person that gives me this offer, I'm out. That's what I think he did. And because Cuban was coming in with pennies, talking about, I know that for a fact. He coming in with pennies offers versus what he knew his market share was. And the Knicks didn't even hesitate. As soon as the doors opened, they were like, listen, here you go. This is a lot of money we get ready to offer it to you right now. But we're shopping. We're out here shopping. So if you don't take this, we could possibly go somewhere else. And he's like, well, my dad's here. They offer me all this money. Instead of me nickel and diming going back and forth with them and the Mavericks, I'm not doing that. I'm going to sign with them. I think that's what happened. You know what I mean? And like Mike said, I think Mark Cuban is shooting them in the foot time after time.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%, man. He should have kept that. He should have kept that championship team intact. They may have did it again.
There was a good chance they could have repeated. But now, Fig, let's talk about this LeBron James situation where he aided Russell Wilson in the win. LeBron and the Lakers are winning. LeBron's putting up some phenomenal numbers. I think he got 37 and 15. But they're winning. They're winning. Golden State's winning. What's your take on the Lakers winning and being able to put this back? And let me say this too. Every single year with every single team, there's a team that's doing something all right, and there's an incident that happens that galvanizes the whole team. You know what I mean? Like everybody can come together on something. It might be, with the Celtics, it's with this thing with Ime Udoka. With the Lakers, it could be this situation with Russell and the blood getting his head busted and all this other stuff. What's your thoughts on this?
Here's the thing. I think sometimes there's just some things that you can't overcome. And age and injuries is one of them. Is two of the things that I think is very difficult. Then when you marry those two things together, I think it becomes very difficult. The regular season and the playoffs and the postseason is very different. It's a different animal. It's a different heightened level of play that teams are able to go to. So I think the Lakers may be able to get through the regular season, win some games. It'll look very nice and stuff like that. But when it comes to the postseason and these other teams lock down on you, I don't think the Lakers are going to be able to do anything because of their age and the fact that a few players on their team, the two best players on their team, has a propensity to be injured, meaning Anthony Davis and LeBron James. Because a lot of those, when you get to the playoffs, a lot of those games are back to back. Like there's not a lot of rest in between games, and then each game gets tougher and tougher. So the Lakers might have a nice regular season, but without some major changes, by the time they get to the playoffs, I don't think they're going to be able to do much.
Okay, that's his take, Mike. What's your take on? Is this the incident that galvanizes the Lakers to get them to win more games, or because like I said, things happen to get somewhat okay teams to galvanize them to get them together to get their act together?
I mean, I don't. LeBron had an amazing game, 39 points and all that good stuff. If Anthony Davis stays healthy and they can keep him upright, I'm not saying they're going to the championship, but they can go around the two in the playoffs. But he's got to stay healthy. When Anthony Davis is literally getting you between 27 and 34 points in a game, and he's getting 9 rebounds, and he's doing what it's going to uplift you, and it's going to put LeBron in a situation where LeBron's like, oh, I know how to fit in this. I know how to get this. But, that's a super if. That's a super if they can keep it together. And I think the Lakers are feeding off of the fact that there are no expectations for this team now. Nobody is saying they're going to do this or they're going to do. Everybody's going, oh, they won. Oh, they won again. Oh, Anthony Davis scored 30 points again. Oh, it's like surprising everybody. So there's no really I don't see LeBron stressing right now. LeBron knows he's not the favorite to do anything.
But it is surprising that they're winning. It's surprising they're winning. I think we all surprised.
Yeah, but I'm saying there's no expectations going into these games.
No, I know what you're saying.
The fact that they gave Phoenix a run without LeBron and they gave them a run, I was like, oh, seems like they may be getting things together. But that's not the way we looked at the Lakers for years. We weren't like, oh, we were like, you're supposed to beat the Suns. You're supposed to beat this team. You're supposed to be in the top three seeds in the Western Conference. Now it's like, if they slide in at number 5, we're gonna be like, oh, wait a second, 5.
Yeah.
So it's there's no pressure right now.
Yeah, because most of us think they might just make the play-in.
The play-in, exactly. The play-in are the expectations right now.
Right.
Can they get to the play-in?
Well, before we roll up out of here, I gotta say this: Deshaun Watson came on the field. They're getting ready to do an interview with him or something. He's gonna have a press conference on ESPN right now. People in Cleveland are shocked right now and excited and happy that Deshaun Watson's coming. So I want to just throw it out there that Deshaun Watson's coming. They're 4. I think they're 4-7. Let me look at their record right now. So Cleveland is doing something right now that is interesting. Yeah, they're 4-7. They're 3rd in the AFC South. I don't know if he's going to turn it around for them this year. But the reason why I brought this up is because Jacoby Brissett could probably be moved next year. And my last question to either one of you guys, I don't care who goes first, is where would you like to see Jacoby Brissett land if Cleveland lets him go? Because Jacoby is not going to stay on the bench for Cleveland. I just can't see that. He's a starter in this league.
I gotta run the same joke. Where do I want him to land? LaGuardia, JFK, Newark Airport, Philadelphia International, DFW. I'm sorry, Jacob. No, I'm just joking. The man is a quality back. He's definitely a really, really, really good backup, and he's a marginal starter. So somebody who needs a backup should get him because,
What do you mean backup? Like I think he's earned enough stripes to be a starter in this league for a couple of teams. You know what I mean? If he goes to the Washington Commanders, or if he goes to, I don't know, the Jacksonville Jaguars, the Tennessee, not Tennessee.
No, Jacksonville.
Not Jacksonville.
And Washington's not starting
Sam Darnold's team. If he goes there,
Carolina Panthers.
Yeah, well, that's everybody's last stop before you out the league. So, that's the last
my point is Jacoby goes to a couple of teams like that, he could turn some of these teams around. That's my thought. So,
all right.
Hey, where would you like to see him land?
Unfortunately, the Knicks, because that's where most athletes go to die.
But I will say this on Frank's behalf. We were saying the same thing about Geno Smith.
Yeah, true.
So you never know. So if you're watching this, Jacoby, these are all jokes. We're comedians. So
absolutely.
And we go by perception and stereotypes all the time. That's what we do. Sometimes we're lazy.
It's funny you say Geno Smith, but does Geno Smith have a 1-year contract with Seattle?
I have no idea. I felt he's the only person I felt bad for yesterday because he played well. Yeah, he actually played well.
I think I want to say he got a 1-year contract. I want to say that. I don't think they signed him for long term.
Who's the backup in Las Vegas?
Who's the starter in Denver? You need to go to Russell Wilson and take Denver.
They owe, and you know what? Then it goes back to the money again, Frank. They owe Russell Wilson so much money. How you gonna start a Jacoby Brissett over Russell? Like
true.
They ain't gonna let him go. You can't trade him.
True.
Nobody is gonna take that contract. So that's the reason I ain't say Denver is because they owe Russell Wilson so much money. How do you explain that? How do you get off that contract?
Somewhere Marshawn Lynch is sitting there going, "That's why you should have given me the ball. That's why you should have given me the ball. You'd have 2 Super Bowl rings."
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. They would have had 2 Super Bowls if Marshawn Lynch.
Rings.
I am never going to agree with that, but okay.
Frank, you know better. There was nothing the Patriots could do with beast mode at that time.
No.
If they should ever be an asterisk,
I was mad because I thought they were going to give him the ball. That's why I was mad. I was like, "Oh, you're not giving him the ball? I'll take that interception every day." Yo, that's the show. It's called Box Seats. We're going to be back tomorrow. The guys are going to be back tomorrow. I'm surprised, honestly, the business bully ain't here after that huge win. But we expect to see him. Huge win from Philly Eagles. The Eagles won. And the Eagles are what, 10-1? You say
10-1, yes, sir.
It's crazy.
Yeah,
it's really hard.
Nobody saw that coming. No, nobody predicted that except for Dave.
Dave didn't even predict that. Dave said undefeated. He thought they were going to run the table. But,
God.
Oh, Fake, tell everybody out there how they can follow you, bro, because this is a week after Thanksgiving. How they can follow you?
Man, this was a beautiful week, man. At Comedian Fig, all social media platforms, man. We're going to be doing some stuff, man. I'm looking forward to Sunday, man. To see what's happening in Boston, man. So, and box seats, 1 to 2 p.m.
Yeah.
Okay. For those of you who don't know, Sunday is Brown Sugar Sundays. Talent's coming up to host. Smokey's going to close. It's in Laugh Boston. It's Sunday. The weather's going to be beautiful up here on Sunday too. So I expect that, you know how people like to go out and get dressed up and all that stuff too. So it's supposed to be 55 degrees. So, we expect one of those great show turnouts. People come out and get dressed. Mike, tell everybody out there how they can follow you, bro.
Hit me at Mike Sean Comedy. You see it right there. Also, check me out in the morning time every morning. Media Room 360 on every platform, YouTube, the whole 9, or just download the app. Shout out to Dougie Fresh. When I tell you, he is our version of Frankie Beverly and Maze. He don't need to ever release another song in the history of the world. All he does is perform and tear things down.
Yeah,
shout out to Dougie and for letting me rock out and share this weekend over there in Atlantic City.
You rocked out with Dougie Fresh? Oh, you lucky.
It's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing.
I wish I had seen it. Y'all watching the show. It's called Box Seats. We are on every day, 3 times a day. Come on at 1, 7, and 11. These are the guys who come in. Usually Rodney Perry's here with talent, with the business bully. We'll see y'all tomorrow. Thank you all for watching. All you ladies and gentlemen who continue to watch and support, we continue to thank you. I can't even thank you all enough. Some of you all even sharing it on your pages. I think I can't begin to thank you all for that either, because obviously we want more views and all that stuff. But anyway, this is the show. We're out. We'll see y'all tomorrow. Thank you all for watching, and we'll see you.